All right. So, like so many other times this season, the Avalanche spot their opponent some goals and then they just go on a run. And that's exactly what they did against the Ottawa Senators. 5 unanswered to win this thing 7-4. A lot to break down with this one. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at you.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. That's always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram, and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And make sure you are following us over on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. Make sure you are subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that is in the show notes below. And when you do, you chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, and we get your opinions on everything Avalanche, which we share on this very. All right. So the Avalanche win this thing 7-4. It really was I want to say it was in doubt, but the Avs got behind, and you're like, okay, it's the second game of a back-to-back. They probably don't have their legs. But that again, this team just has no quit in it, and they just started getting pucks in the back of the net. And before you know it, they took the lead, and then they had a 2-goal lead, and then an empty netter by Devontae's makes it 7-4. We'll get to the Justus Annunen thing a little bit later, kind of assess how we thought he played. Just your general take on this game from beginning to end, Kyle. What are you thinking for this one?
We have a goalie, the depth of scoring. You're getting it from defense as well. Give this team the Stanley Cup. Everything is answered. It's fixed. No, it's what you want to see, honestly. Like Miles Wood, welcome back, bud. That's
does he not make a difference? Come on. What a just in the effort that guy puts in, that's just infectious. And then the goal he had was just he's not known for his like offensive ability, but that was a solid move to have the stick on the puck on his stick that the way that it was, and just kind of shielding the defender, and just I think it was like backhand to forehand, and you just it was beautiful. That was a goal scorer's goal coming from Miles Wood of all people.
And the thing I kept thinking after watching that goal about 2 or 3 times was, how bad was he yesterday against Montreal? Like, could you not have just gave us 60% of that?
I know. I don't get that, because when we touched on it, it's like, well, he needs to get back into game shape. He might be back tomorrow, which was, the second of a back-to-back. I just didn't understand, how he's not in game shape, but 24 hours later, he miraculously is. Whatever. I mean, they have a method to their madness, but I thought that was a little bit weird. But God, you could see it. You could see the difference in what he brings to the depth. We'll get to the depth too in a minute, but just overall, the takeaway from this game is not only just the Avalanche. We talked earlier, like, is this their MO in terms of, like, when we were talking about this earlier in the season, how it's just ugly losses and pretty victories and just back and forth. And now is it just like they're just comeback warriors, or you can just never count them out? It's another thing we talked about earlier. Like, you don't want to see that as a coaching staff. It's got to be just frustrating that you can't jump out to like a 7-1 lead and then give up a couple that meaningless goals to make it 7-4. It's probably a little bit frustrating that it has to get to 4-2 and then you can just rattle off goals, but it makes you pretty confident in your team at the same time. So yeah, while the Avs were down, and again, it's another game where it just seems like everything is stacked up against you in terms of the guys that you have out there, again, in terms of the depth, and the depth did not show up against Montreal. They did in this game, and you see the difference when you have a team that you can roll the 4 lines and they're playing better. I don't want to say like And again, it is Ottawa, and Ottawa takes chances. Ottawa takes a lot, and they talked about it a lot on the broadcast that they have 15 wins on the season, and I know like Mosier was like, how does this team have only 15 wins? And I was saying it before Riker was saying, it's like because they give up a ton of goals.
Yep.
This is what they do. They impress you offensively, but defensively is where they struggle. And when you have a team like the Avalanche that can score goals like that, and they did, that exploits them.
And honestly, you call the Avs the comeback kids, but they're almost like a microcosm of the Ottawa Senators. They put themselves in that situation, especially in first periods. That was evident in the Montreal game, and that's how this game was starting out. It was a little bit rough around the edges defensively. It looked like a carryover, but they tightened up, and that's the difference between the Ottawa Senators and the Colorado Avalanche. This team has the talent where they can get back to their way of doing things, and they can clean it up. And that's why the third period is so much better for this Colorado Avalanche team, because they have the hockey IQ and the talent to go 3 periods, figure out what you're doing, adjust to it, and then just put the game
Exploit
away.
it in the third. Yeah. Going through kind of some of the big plays in this, what did you think of that Ross Colton play? That he got the stick up into the goalie mask of I'm not familiar with the Ottawa goalie. Let me Sogard. It was one of those things where it's like, if you're an Avalanche fan, you're like, oh, it was accidental. If you're a Senators fan, you're calling for Colton's head. We try to toe the line here on that. We don't like to be too much of homers, but what did you think for that play?
I like how you put the two camps. All I kept thinking was, we are never going to be on speaking terms with Locked On Senators. We can't have a clean game against the Ottawa Senators where there's not controversy.
Yeah.
But and it's funny that they also mentioned the Darcy Kemper Brian Johansson debacle from a couple years ago. I honestly, like, if you watch it in real time, it's bang bang, incidental. Do it a million times, it'll never happen again. But
the thing is, like, it's I mean, and I bring it up because some of the people on the Ottawa side thought like he should have got a game misconduct for that. And if you watch it, like the puck is flying through the air right in front of the goalie, and Colton is coming down with his stick. And the only reason it goes back up is because it catches Sogard's like arm or like upper arm, who's making a play like that. So it causes the stick to go up into his neck, into his throat, or wherever it went. So it ended up being a dangerous play. Clearly, Colton wasn't trying to do that. And I know you don't really like, if it was a worse outcome, maybe he would have gotten a game misconduct for it. But in no way do I feel like it was intentional. Yeah. And if he was coming up with that, which there's no reason to do that when the puck is like, you're not going to hit a puck up in the air the way that he was going. He's trying to knock it down. And like you said, it's just happening. Like, he is flying towards right at the net. And because it happened so quickly, and because, it's a penalty all day. I'm not saying it's not a penalty. I'm not trying to say that. I mean, but I don't think a misconduct was warranted for that, but it was dangerous. It was a very dangerous play. You're happy that Soder did, got back up and was able to continue. Could have been a lot worse, because this looked like the stick kind of did get up underneath the mask, which that's never good. But the only reason I brought it up is just because, like, I know some people think that it could have been a game misconduct, and if it was, could have changed the dynamic of that game, because that was pretty early on.
And I think you can go ahead and you can mark this down. You can put it on the wall. This will be the probably one and only time I say this, but I commend the referees for the double call that they put on it. They called high sticking and roughing on that, and they gave him 4.
Yeah, they did.
And it was a happy medium. Like, it wasn't extreme enough to warrant a misconduct, but just strictly saying a high sticking would not have been enough to satiate the Ottawa Senator fan base. So I feel like that was a happy medium, and they called it right in that moment.
And I would even go as far to say, like, I don't think the Senators guys should have got anything. because you're protecting your goalies. You are protecting goalies all day, every day. They are in a vulnerable position, and that was a vulnerable position that he was in. So I got no problem with them going after Colton, and I would have maybe even been, if I was a ref, being a little bit lax because of it, because it could have been a terrible outcome. So I think the Avs got lucky in the fact that they assessed Senators 2 minutes as well, and it was only a power play, your normal garden variety 2-minute power play. So a little bit of luck there for the Avs to come away with that. But the power play itself for the Avalanche, I thought looked god awful, terrible on a couple of them. What were they for the day? They were 1 for 3.
And so was Ottawa.
And Ottawa was as well. But the Avs gave Ottawa again, like it's weird because the Avs are scoring goals on the power play. I think this is 9 games in a row where they've scored a goal on a power play, but they're not looking good. They're not looking crisp. They're not looking clean. Zone entries again seem to be a problem. They are turning the puck over and giving the shorthanded team opportunities. It hasn't resulted in a goal for the opposition, but just the sheer fact that you're giving the opponent opportunities on shorthand, you don't want that. So I thought that, that's gotta, it's weird for me to say it's got to improve because they are scoring on it, but it's not, they're not looking good in the process of scoring these goals on the special teams anyway.
And it's more reacclimation because again, we're kind of like last year where this lineup is different every night. So once you get a little bit of a flow, we'll be all right.
And boy, how it changed in 24 hours for the depth of the Colorado Avalanche. Man, did they come up big in this game. So why don't we touch on that coming up next, and we'll discuss Justus Annunen and, of course, our sound checks. So we'll get to the depth pieces after this. First, we're going to hear from Sleeper and the Daily Fantasy app, which Kyle continues to scour the internet to try to find an app that is better for daily fantasy sports. How'd you do since yesterday? Anything?
I will not rest until I find one, and I can't.
I don't think then you're not resting.
No rest for me.
No rest. Sleepy Von Doom is going to be the name. And regardless of where you are in the standings, we want to remind you that you can win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. And Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. This is where I go to you, sir. And the next game for the Avalanche is rematch with the Boston Bruins. So who do you like for that game? Who's your sleeper of the game?
The guy who was a sleeper in our last game, Nathan MacKinnon.
Why not? Nathan MacKinnon. So all you have to do is pick whether studs like Nathan MacKinnon will record more or less than their sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in a given game. So use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That code is Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Before we get to the depth people, and we mentioned Nathan MacKinnon in that ad there. If he did not, he'd be at what, like 27, 28 games right now? If he didn't have that, I think he had 19 in a row.
Yeah.
And then he had, or did he get to 20? I don't even remember now if he got to 20. He might have got to 20. And then he had the goose egg, and he's had another 8 or 9 in a row. So he'd be approaching 30 if that one game he could have got a point. The heck is the matter with him? Trade him.
Yeah, we got to trade him now. Cash considerations, baby.
Yeah, 7th rounder in cash considerations. One, facet of the game that really helped in this one anyway with Ottawa was the depth. And we kind of went in on them on yesterday's episode, rightly so. They were not doing anything. And, you needed your depth pieces to do some depth things, whatever that may be. For the Avalanche, you're expected to do for this team. You're expected to pitch in, get some scoring chances, prevent the opposition from getting their scoring. Like, no, you're not expected to do what the top line is doing, but that's not, nobody's expecting that. but you were expected to do a lot more than you did in the Montreal game. And they really turned it up in this one, Kyle. Absolutely. Just to go through the stats, I'll go through all of them. Ryan Johansson, who we all know has been struggling, he had an assist. Freddie Olofsson had an assist. Logan O'Connor, a goal and an assist, a beautiful goal at that. Miles Wood, a goal and an assist. McKinnon with the 2 assists. Jason Polin with his first career goal, and that was an absolute beautiful snipe that he had. Mikko Rantanen 2 goals on the defensive end. Taves with the empty netter and an assist. Makar with an assist. Sammy G 3 assists on the day, and the player of the game, Sam Malinksi. 1 goal, 1 assist, and 1 goal taken away because Jonathan Drouin was a side of a paper thin razor offsides, which they called back, which he was offsides. Yep. But a beautiful goal that was taken away. Mikko Rantanen gets it back. That happened a couple times in this game where they give up a goal and then the Avalanche turn around and score to really get the equalizer. But for Malinksi specifically, he had that goal taken away, which is a beautiful goal. And it sucks that thing got taken away. But then he just comes back later on and scores another one on a power play and a huge goal at that. He's looking fantastic. And when this is a 100% healthy team, I'm really interested to see the pretzels the Avalanche turn themselves into to not send him back down. I don't know how you do right now.
That's the thing. Sam Malinksi, the more this road trip is going on, we were talking about this bonding and figuring out the identity together and Hell Week and all this. Sam Malinksi is making it very, very hard for this defensive core to come back 100% and keep their job.
He is. I mean, right now he is. But this is the but. Like, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows for him.
Yeah.
Like, he is going to go through some growing pains. Like, I don't want to take anything away from the Senators, but it's the Senators. They do this. They give up a lot of goals. You know, he's been playing great. He's playing a really, really good stretch, but you are not going to make some rash decisions from a roster perspective because Sam Malinksi has given you a small sample size of really good hockey. It's very promising for the future. And I know the Avalanche play for both. The Avalanche play for the here and the now, and they play for what's to come in years to come. He's definitely a part of that. But what he's doing right now, it's one of those things where you play the hot hand, and that goes for any position. That goes for goalie, that goes for defensemen, and that goes for rookies. And right now, he is one of the hottest guys playing. And it's not just scoring, just his defensive abilities. He's doing everything right. So you ride it for as long as you can. It will flame. I don't want to say flame out, but it might drop down a little bit here and there. And you live with that. But that's true for every player.
And this is where, if I was Bednar and McFarland, I would be watching. This is a great game, incredible game from him against Ottawa. You're going to Boston. You're going to keep an eye on is this a consistent production? Like, are we climbing up? And is this him finding his game or him taking advantage of the moment? And if he can maintain this in the Boston game, that's where it's really going to get difficult. If he goes back down to kind of just playing good, but not really showing up in the score sheet, you kind of get an idea on what you're getting out of Malinksi. And when Bo comes back, everything goes back to normal. But if he continues or gets better, that's when the trade deadline gets very interesting.
Well, he's going to get better over the course of a few seasons. Like, he hasn't reached his full potential yet.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't got to that point where other teams are kind of taking notice of him and preparing for him because he's benefiting off of that because teams are preparing for Cale Makar. They're preparing for Devon Taves. They're probably even preparing for Sam Girard in some aspect. Sam Malinski is the new kid on the block. And when it starts to be like, okay, like this guy is somebody that we have to put some form of plan in for, how does he adjust to that? Right now, he doesn't have to adjust to much because people aren't planning for him. So what happened like that? And that's what we want to see. Like he's been playing fantastic. And the Avalanche are benefiting from that. So long term, he's in their plans, obviously. But right now, he's playing. It's fun to watch. It's fun,
Yeah.
man. That goal that he had taken away, the hockey sense to just keep with the play, because most guys would kind of just skate in there, and as soon as they get to the blue line, find someone to pass it to. The Senators, for some reason, just kept giving him space, so he kept taking it.
Yeah.
He's like, fine, like I'll keep skating into the house if you want me to. I don't know why you're gonna let me, but if you're gonna let me, fine. And maybe they just thought he was gonna pass it, and he rifled it. It was beautiful. So he's hitting all the right buttons right now. I'm just saying I don't want people to go to the nth degree of like, oh, now we can make moves. Now let's he's doesn't take up a lot of cap space. Now we can trade Bo Byram. Now we can trade Sammy G because Sam Malinski's arrived. No, do not go there. But on the other hand, he's been incredible.
And it's hard not to get excited because, I mean, this Ottawa Senators game was fan favorite night. You had a goal from Miles Wood, you had a goal from LOC, and you had a goal from Sam Malinski. So, depending on your fan favorite, you got a goal from them, and you're very happy in what camp you're in. The Boston game is where you see what's maintained, or if it's just that's where you really want to see if this is a sustainable thing or just a good night on a bad team.
Because Boston obviously will make you work for it more than Ottawa will. Ottawa is a very, offensive-minded team, and defensively not so much, and you saw it. And you in the Avalanche can take advantage of that. So that's how you get guys like Malinski, just skating into the zone and nobody's checking him. Or, the Jason Polin goal, man, that's a pretty goal for your first ever career NHL goal. And it was big. It was huge. It was time, like, and he the release on that thing was gorgeous. So he's got that ability. He has the scoring ability. I think he just needs to get a little bit more seasoning in the pros, get some more games under his belt, maybe play with guys that are designed to be forwards and not defensemen sometimes. But you really liked what you can see him growing and each game getting a little bit better. So
you're asking for too much. Actual forwards, come on, Chris.
Come on now. All right, let's all these new guys and or newer guys and depth guys, and another one is obviously Justus Annunen, who came up and was starting goalie for this one. So let's break down how we thought he did and get to our subtext people as well. We'll do that right after this. Right now, we are going to talk about eBay and eBay Motors, passion, drive, and patience. It's what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into what we call the Nathan McKinnon trilogy, speed, power, and style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for, and with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride or die every time, or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts available that you need at prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home the win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply, and eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Justus Annunen came up. He got his shot at the goalie position, which has kind of been a thorn in the side for the Avalanche for this season so far. What do you think? Good, bad, middle of the road, some good, some bad? What's your take on Justus in his first game with the Avs this year?
He was fine. Started out kind of rough, but then
I thought he started off good, and then it went it dipped a little bit, and then he came out of it, and then he played well. So it was like the U curve, like good. You give up 4 goals, it's not the best, and then he did what Georgiev has done, many times this year, where it starts ugly, or there's a point of the game where it's ugly, but then he keeps it there. And that's what Annunen did, at least.
And everything we were saying about Sam Malinksi and maintaining it, I would like to see another piece of the sample size, because we were having the same conversation in this fanfare around Prosvetov not too long ago when he got in there, and wow, he looks pretty good. And then go back to the Florida game. So and with the rumors of Elvis Merzlikins asking for a trade out of Columbus, like other options are out there. So you don't want to get too hyped, and you don't want to, after buying into Prosvetov and then having the Florida game happen, and then you have a semi-average 900 save night out of Justus.
Yeah.
It's
40
like
shots on goal will get that for you.
yeah. I don't want to overinflate. It was good, got us the win, but again, like we said on everybody else's performance, it is Ottawa.
But there were moments where, like, you see, that he's not the answer, right? Like he's not going to overtake Georgiev right now. They're going to continue to give Georgiev the lion's share of these starts, because you saw moments where Ottawa had wide open nets, and Annunen had no idea where the puck was. And it's just a miscue by the in Ottawa forward or whoever's taking the shot that they didn't have a couple more goals.
And then you have Georgiev, who is staring down a one-on-one, a breakaway, and will let one go over his glove or 5-hole. And then, but the thing that Justus did that I really liked, that I forgot how much I missed seeing, was a save on shot 2-3 on a rebound. Justus had a lot of shutdown, just rebound saves, which was nice. Those not going in, that was nice. But then again, like the puck tracking wasn't there, so it's pick your poison. You're getting about the same right now with goalie play, and it was nice that Georgiev didn't even suit up. He wasn't even there. Like,
no, they were like, go to Boston. Just go to Boston. If things go south, we'll put in the backup to the backup in Prosvetov. But no, I like, he had moments. He had moments that were good. He had moments that were bad. And I think that's what you're going to get from him until he gets more seasoning at this level. Because, with the Eagles, I think he's doing okay. But he's not, setting that league on fire. So you're not expecting him to come up and just continue that at the NHL level. But it's good to see him get, a win. A win is a win in the NHL. And it's, you're going to get some growing pains with him for the sheer fact that he doesn't have a lot of time up here. And you saw it. You saw like what, some good timely saves, but you saw some just flat out miscues by Ottawa that would have been simple goals. You run that play again, and it's not a miscue, and it's in the
and there's some posts. Some posts came to help them out.
Yeah. I mean that happens, but all right. Over on subtext, who we got over here? Keegan says, finally got my Annunen call up, and I know it's Annunen. Maybe some people.
I've heard it 3 ways on the broadcast.
I say Annunen, so sorry. I have the emphasis on the wrong syllable. So, he said he was okay, but glad Georgie could get a rest day, and the team still take care of business. Last episode asked for the depth to show up, and boy, did they. There you go. A great end to the back-to-back. Boston round 2 should be a lot of fun. Talk about the Boston game tomorrow, but yeah, they're going to want some revenge. So we'll see how that goes. Madam Battle Axe, this was a great game. Saw some great moments. She thought Annunen was nervous. He seemed shaky in the beginning. I mean, I think that's just normal, man. You're up in the big show. Yeah, you're gonna have nerves.
That's normal Justus.
Normal Justus just be shaky Annunen.
Yep.
Proud of Malinksi and Polin. Nice to see the next generation of Avs coming up, making their presence known. She's asking why Prosvetov didn't start, just because he hasn't done well. Yeah, no. I think they're just giving Annunen a look, because if Prosvetov had that backup locked down, there would be no call up for Annunen. But I think things have just been so shaky in the goalie position, they're just going to give him a shot.
Let's be real here, everyone. Prosvetov is Michael Hutchinson 2.0. It was a good game, not a viable option.
No. And then she says, if the last few games alone do not show why Bednar deserves to get Coach of the Year, I don't know what will do it.
Not even in the top 5.
It's embarrassing. He's taking a fragmented team again and turning them into something amazing. I know the day off is what they need to get going into Boston. Let's ride the wave. We'll talk. I'm sure we'll talk about Bednar many times, but Nathan MacKinnon is in the talk for Hart, rightly so. Very good chance of winning it. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. You're not getting that same thing from Jared Bednar, and I'm kind of the mind of you never will anymore.
Nope.
And it's a shame. Like, the guy has done everything that other coaches who have won the award he's done that before they won the award, and he never got it. So it's kind of embarrassing that he's never won the thing, but he continues to just sock away wins, and that's really all that matters. But again, it's nice to maybe get recognized, and it's kind of a joke that he's not up there. And yeah, there was a poll that came out, I think on NHL.com, of who's like the favorite right now, and he wasn't in the top 5. And then I think they had 2 or 3 like other receiving votes on the bottom of that, and he wasn't even in that. You're trying to tell me Jared Bednar is not a top 8 coach in this league? What are we doing here? I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that too and just kind of rolled my eyes, and it's another one of those years.
Embarrassing. Easton said Juice had enough in him. Talking about Annunen, depth scoring, top guy scoring, rookie scoring, good effort on the back-to-back. Crazy that they look stronger in the third than the second. I don't think so. Like, that's kind of their thing. They're the best third period team in the league. They have more comebacks than anybody in the league. So that's what they're built for right now. So, but maybe he's saying because it's a back-to-back. Maybe if that's your argument, then sure. Usually the third period in a back-to-back, your legs are heavier. So yeah, in that aspect, he's right.
And I think they wanted to go out off this back-to-back with a win, and I think they saw a way how, and they pushed through on that third period.
Vargar, I'm so happy to see Malinksi playing at this level. I expected this to coming out of camp, but it took a bit of seasoning and more likely AHL confidence building. I absolutely hate to give up 4 goals to a middle of the road team, but the Avs showed their quality again in the third. A 900 save percent was decent for Annunen. Malinksi, he coming out of camp, it was, he looked good in the rookie camp, and then that didn't really carry over into the preseason. I think he was just trying way too hard, and that's normal. Like, I think he was just trying to make this team, and mistakes were made. So it's like, go down, get some seasoning, come up, and look at the benefits. It's been fantastic.
Yep. The Martin Kaut effect.
But the opposite, isn't it? I mean, you're getting results out of Malinksi.
You're getting, it's an alternate timeline Martin Kaut.
Yeah. And finally, Kyle, not Shaggy, said, unfortunately, he was not able to watch the game, but apparently he needed sunscreen for how often the lamp was getting lit in that game. So there you go. Join our subtext if you want to have your comments read on the episode. Overall, I mean, it's I feel like we're used to these games. You get down, you mount a comeback. Not ideal. You can't keep doing that when it comes playoff time, but in the regular season, they're fun. They're fun to talk about. So last thing we got to get to is our sound check. We'll do this quickly, and Kyle and I pick a song that we feel best summarizes the most recent game. These songs go up on a playlist over on Spotify. So just load up the app and search for LOA Soundcheck Volume number 3. What do you got for this game, sir? Avs with the comeback win over Ottawa.
Make it quick, make it right. Won't get fooled again from the Who.
Why'd you go with that one?
We saw how the Montreal game happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that second period, that intermission going into the third, it felt like it was literally said, we're not going to have Montreal happen again. They got back to business, didn't get fooled again, took care of got that win.
That's kind of where I went. I went with the band 6 a.m., the old Nikki Sixx band. The song is Rise. And you couldn't have a repeat performance from the depth. And I think it's a great thing that, back-to-backs are never great. But for those guys specifically, they probably wanted to get back out there quickly and say, like, yeah, that's not what we're all about. Let's turn this thing around. They did. They rose up. They rose to the occasion. They played much better. And, while that's good, and I don't want to just move on from it right away, let's do it again in Boston. That's a bigger test. Can you do it in Boston, what you did in Ottawa? So can they rise to that occasion? We'll see. All right. That will wrap it up for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and making us your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We will see everybody tomorrow.